What shall we then say to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us?
SPEAKROC, that's the team that I'm with. SPEAKROC, don't it make a lot of sense? SPEAKROC, yeah, we speak to each other. Hey, young man, be a brother to another, Put the other things aside, throw away the fakeness. All my brothers got the key to achieve greatness. Let nobody bring you down when you tryna reach the top. Let them know what you represent, tell them SPEAKROC. Let's make a change for the best. Let your voice be heard, let your words be expressed. Brothers and sisters, set a goal to the top. If anybody got your back, let them know it's SPEAKROC.
Hey, yo, Guap, that was dope. Hey, just gotta keep telling them what it is out here, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you already know, man.
Hey, we doing this one for the D. What up, though?
What up, though?
What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? It's your brother SPEAKROC. How you doing, brothers and sisters? You know what time it is. Hey, on this Saturday, on this beautiful Saturday morning. Hey, I'm coming to touch y'all, and I'm coming to speak to y'all, and I'm coming to uplift y'all and encourage y'all and enlighten y'all the only way that SPEAKROC can. But I cannot do it by myself. I gotta do it with my brother, the extraordinary teacher, my man. I call him E.T. The brother Eric Thompson is on the line with us. What up, E?
Man, what up, though? What up, though, man? What's going on, sir? Yes, I'm on the line. I'm excited about what I don't know the topic to be, but I'm excited about it anyway. Hallelujah. So,
hey, that's the way you like it, man.
How you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Hey, look, let me say this real quick, dog. Man, look, it was a privilege that this last weekend, last Sunday, I was able to catch my brother via live stream, present the word of God. And that's you. Ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you that this man preached a timely message, on point message, that, you know, me being miles away, I still was able, you know, through the, you know, the blessing of technology, I was able to hear this man preach, and yeah, I'm biased, so what? He my boy, that's my brother, and, you know, hey, look, I'm down for whatever he does, but the point is, to be honest about it, regardless, if I ain't know him or not, the word was timely, it was blessed, and, you know, my family and we received so much from it, and I was just happy to hear you, come forward and bring the word the way that you do. And let me say this, it was everything I expected and what I expect to know of you. Uncompromising, steadfast, flat-footed, bringing the word with, you know, the way you know how, man. And I was just gobbling it up, brother. So, hey, look, I just want to say salute to you, man. Thank you.
Praise God, praise God. That's all God. I mean, I you know, with him, I can't do anything. You know, sometimes he'll want to use me on that level, and I just allow him to do it. I'm just his vessel. I try to, you know, listen to what heaven is saying, and I try to expound on that. I mean, I appreciate you and your family listening in, and it was a blessing to know that, you know, y'all was streaming while I was ministering, so I knew I had some prayer. I knew I had some help. I felt really comfortable up there, and now I know why, because I had my brother praying for me.
Oh, man, brother, anytime, man. Oh, boy, trust me, you was more of a blessing. You was a blessing to us, man. Yo, so, look, man, like, and this is a good segue. As you said, you don't know what the topic is. And once again, listener audience, this is what we do. Look, you know, family, this is, you know, what we do. Ever since I asked my brother, E.T., to join me and to bless me on this podcast, he you know, he made it clear, like, hey, look, let's be authentic. I don't want to know what the topic is. Don't even tell me. Let's flow. Let you and I flow. And what I mean by flow is, let us come off the, you know, from the heart. Okay? Let us be able to speak from the heart, and let us be able to be used of God to say the things that are timely and that are necessary. So, you know, this is a great segue into what I want to discuss today. And I'm right with you. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know much about the topic, but I believe that God is going to use us to say something that's going to be able to help people. And what the topic is pastors meeting with the president. Okay? Just recently, a couple of days ago, there was a group of pastors, anywhere between 10 to 15 pastors. I can be off one or two as far as numbers. And, they met with the president. And there was some mixed emotions in the United States, let me just say. Okay, I don't know about the world, but just in the United States. I don't know if it was just in the spiritual community. I don't know if it was just in the Christian community. I don't know, but there were mixed emotions out there. Some for it, some against it. And, I believe that one of the purposes of SpeakRoc, along with the ministries and the guidance and the wisdom of Eric Thompson, is that we can fill the void. We can put some godly answers out there and put some wisdom out there to help people deal with things that they hold near and dear to their heart. That being their spiritual beliefs, that being their love for being a patriot, what have you. And so I just want to get your viewpoint, Eric. So let's just vibe off each other and let's try to speak on this situation and let the people hear what we got to say about it.
Praise God. I wasn't familiar with this story. See, Facebook can put you up on some stuff. Hallelujah. I wasn't even familiar with it until I actually looked at some posts on Facebook, and some of these Facebook people lost their mind over it. And I was thinking, wow, is it that deep? So I have I have a few different opinions about it, or something I just want to throw out there to discuss. One is, what was the purpose and the intent of the meeting? See, I don't know that. What I did hear was people were talking about the first time a bunch of pastors met with him, and they were saying, well, whatever happened of that meeting? I don't know. I can't really say whatever happened of that meeting. And then my second thought is, why not meet with a decision maker? Now, if you go in there to compromise, if you go in there to just to get your own stuff established, and then not necessarily, that's nothing wrong with that either. But if you're just going on behalf of the people, or you go on behalf of a platform and agenda that's going to advance a people, a congregation, a state, a city, a borough, or whatever, then I'm all for that. I mean, I'm not, I have some different opinion of this administration, but I have some positive opinions of this administration too.
Now, let me interject this, E, real quick, just as a point of order and a point of reference, so the listening audience who might not know any of the story, people who don't catch the news, people who don't have social media, whatever the case may be, as a point of order, the meeting, quote unquote, was supposedly based off the discussion of prison reform. And as a point of order, just for clarity purposes, the majority of the clergy that was present were of African American descent. And just as a point of order, putting it out there, some would say, well, what does any of this matter? But, the majority of the pastors that was there were male pastors of African American descent. So, and they were talking about prison reform. So, and that's another subject I know that is near and dear and that is touchy in the African American community. So I'm sorry to interject like that, brother, but I want to make sure that as we discuss that the listening audience knows how, they can tie in our comments to the actual situation that was at hand.
Awesome. That's awesome, because like I said, I did not know, and I didn't, I don't kind of if it's a lengthy discussion on Facebook, I kind of read some of the highlights or whatever. I didn't get deep involved. I just got into some of the comments that was kind of heated and kind of biased. And
right.
Put it this way, they could have based on some of the comments, they could have went there for a very good thing, as I believe prison reform is a very good thing. But that all they saw was black people going to talk to a white president, which they don't agree with, which they don't necessarily like. So I don't think anything positive could have come out of that dialogue. But I do believe some positive things can come out of dialogue, because if we don't reason together, if we don't come collectively together to discuss our differences or our agendas, then how we expect change to happen. Now, this president that we have now, I mean, he mastered his own drum, and he likes to hear himself talk a lot. So I can almost sympathize with some of their frustration, but we got to start somewhere, and I believe starting at the table is the best way to start.
And you know what, Eric? You know what? I'm in the same space where you are. As I sit and dwell and I contemplate and I search my spirit about, because for almost any situation that I deal with, I gotta reflect. I reflect spiritually. I reflect with knowledge. Okay, and I'm not trying to put any of these in order like any one is more important, but wisdom, knowledge, and spiritual principle are highly important to me when I deal with no matter what the topic is. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
It makes a whole lot of sense.
Because I need something I need to be checked, because if I don't use those things, my emotions will run away with me. I will be more emotional than logical. I will be more emotional than spiritual. And as far as I'm concerned, if I was to put them in the order, my spiritual man with spiritual knowledge needs to, I'm just going to say it, pun intended, needs to trump all the rest.
Yeah, absolutely.
It needs to trump everything that, my spiritual man needs to guide everything else. Am I making sense? I mean,
you make a whole lot of sense.
So speak on that for me.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Speak on that for me.
Okay, and I mean, that just makes a whole heck of a lot of sense. But the interesting thing about it is, can I just throw this in there as just a side note?
Go ahead.
What difference does it make that they were African American pastors? Did it make a whole lot of difference? Did it make if it was just a few African Americans to go anyway? Oh, let's hit it. What about if they were Caucasians and they had the same platform? Do we have the same, do you have the same energy and focus to determine whether the relevancy of this meeting is important or not? You follow what I'm saying?
Right.
When are we going to look beyond issues of color and issues of because it's funny, because they qualify, when I was looking at some of these posts, they qualify the pastors as sellouts, right? And I was trying to figure out who's the more sellout, those who complain about a thing and not do anything, or the person who trying to get something done but may not have all the resources to get it done, but they are trying to get it done. I'm trying to figure out which one is the best sellout. See, it's easy to say somebody's selling out. It's easy to say somebody's not doing the correct way or the best possible way to do it when you ain't doing anything.
Wow.
When you just sitting at home tweeting about it.
Wow.
You follow what I'm saying? And always have a negative thing about it. It's why don't you just trust God and believe that God had these men of God, and I heard Paula White was there too, and women of God there, because put it, but obviously the intent was in my opinion sufficient, because because I believe we need prison reform too. So I believe they went in with a great plan. Now whether they got derailed or sidetracked in the conversation, that part I don't know.
Now let me say this I just want to speak from both sides, but I don't want to be contradictory, okay?
Yep.
The thing is, I look at it like this. From my vantage point, race does matter. And I'm going to say why. I'm going to say why. Race doesn't matter in the sense of I just want to be petty, or I just want to be so dogmatic about black culture. That's the only reason I'm bringing up race. Race matters because if you're speaking about prison reform, the individuals that have suffered, and this is historical data, individuals who have suffered because of bad statutes and laws that have been put in place have been the African American community, primarily the African American male, meaning that the population, the demographic that have suffered from lengthy prison sentences over infractions such as far as carrying a certain weight of what is deemed to be an illegal substance like marijuana. You have African American men that have been given lengthy prison sentences, when now all of a sudden the United States government is trying to open up a freaking marijuana dispensary on almost every corner in the city of America. See, so what I'm getting at is, when you have a demographic that have suffered by past presidents enacting certain laws, race plays a certain there's a certain perspective we got to look at it as. Okay, so what I'm getting at is this. And before I get into that, let me make this point, and I want you to allude to this. My thing is, Eric, I don't consider myself to be a major theologian, as if I know it all about the Bible. But you know what? God has blessed me with the ability to read. And when I read the word, when I look at the prophets, and when I look at the ministers of the gospel, when I look at the chosen men and women of God, when their yea was yea and their nay was nay, okay? They stated, thus saith the Lord, okay? There's a certain spirit of boldness that ministers, messengers of God, apostles, prophets, that you speak with. Now, this has been true from Genesis to Revelation. This has been true. I don't even think it's open for debate. We can look at Paul. We can look at John the Baptist. We can look at Jesus. John the Baptist got beheaded. If I'm not mistaken, Paul was on the run for his life and had to be lowered down in a basket to escape. If I'm not mistaken, Jesus stood before Pontius Pilate and was probably some of the most sarcastic answers you can ever give any kind of elected official. Jesus was like, hey, look, it's whatever it is that you want to say it is. If you think I'm the king, whatever. Believe what you want. I said what I said, and that's what it is. So my point being that if any minister of the gospel, anyone who calls themselves a pastor, my thing is this. I'm all for meeting. All for it. But did we stand flat-footed and speak what thus saith the Lord? Are we calling out the injustices and the infractions and the heinous actions of past presidential cabinets and presidential governing? These are the things that I believe we cannot gloss over. If it brings offense to that person because they just want to be offended, well, that's more of them problem than it is a God problem. And if I'm not mistaken, if a pastor is going to reach outside of doing the things of God, far as saving souls, baptizing, giving communion and what have you, and you decide to get into the political realm and deal with worldly issues, I believe that if you went there, I would ask the question, well, did you garner the thoughts and the feelings from your congregation? I would ask, are you having conversations within your own congregation, within your own church body, asking the questions about prison reform and what are the solutions? That's my thing. Did you get with your own community in your own church and watch this? Did you even have a televised meeting, a community meeting, a church meeting with your own people before you decided to go before the president? And you know it's going to be televised. You know it's going to be aired. All my thing is, let's walk in truth. Let's walk in boldness, and let's walk in order if we're going to do these things. I'm not opposed to meeting with any high elected official, but if we're going to do it, and we're going to do it on the behalf of the people, let's make sure that we got the people with us, and let's make sure that we walking in the spirit of God when we do it. That, at the end of the day, that's how I feel about it. What are your thoughts, man?
Man, that's good. That's good stuff. Now, see, I guess where I was going with that when you said that the race does play a part. I guess what I was saying was I think you were coming from a standpoint of the injustices that happened because of some inequality in prison reform and all of that. Mm-hmm. I was talking about the advocate itself. I'm talking about the person who's actually in front of the individual speaking on prison reform. I'm saying I don't necessarily feel that, just because it was a minister, or African American minister, that should have been the emphasis more so than the platform itself. Like I'm gonna give you an example. As when you were sharing with it, I know you can relate to this, and because you were talking about, because most of the injustices are happening to us now. You know how we used to flood the abortion clinic, right?
Right.
And we know most of our people are going, especially this particular one that we were going to, most of our people were the ones that was aborting their children, aborting in the promise, aborting in their favor, aborting in the connection to God. But we recognize most of the advocates didn't look like them. You see where I'm going now?
Right.
So should we talk about them in a way as they're being negative, because really they're standing up for our people when we're not doing it ourselves? That's all I was saying. I was saying it's not necessary because they were African American pastors. I'm applauding them because they I'm not saying they should be ridiculed because they were African American pastors and they stand for the president. I'm just saying if it was Caucasian pastors standing before the president, the thing should be that part of it should necessarily outweigh the cause. That's what I'm saying. Is there a cause? I believe there is, and whoever's standing up for that cause. Now, I believe if you're directly impacted by that cause, you may come with a greater anointing, or greater desire, or greater zeal, or greater passion for it. But I don't think that's to discount my Caucasian brother and sister that's standing on the front line for our children when we're not there.
Yeah, hey, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. And once again, I pray to God that our listener audience is following this conversation. That clarity that you just gave, that's rich, man. That's what. Look, I would think if anybody just heard what you just said, that's helpful. Because that is things like that need. If you're just a layman just looking at the news and you see that, oh, there's a bunch of African American pastors, but if you're not giving any perspective, I can see how you know what I'm saying. You can just run away with your emotions.
Yep.
But this is why I want people to hear what it is that we're talking about today, because there has to be a governing source of wisdom that will guide our emotions. There's nothing wrong with being emotional. The Bible talks about, be angry, but sin not. There's nothing wrong with having emotions. I can be angry at whatever I want to be angry at. But, the key is not to carry out a sin act predicated upon that anger. Am I making sense?
You're making a whole lot of sense. We can go back right to the abortion clinic and talk about it. You pro-life, but then you blow up the clinic with people in it.
Wow. Wow.
That kind of thing. So that's that. Be angry and sin not. See, that's that typical example. Be angry,
say, I'm gonna fix the abortion clinic. I'm gonna fix y'all. Come on, we ain't got to go there though.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So you're right about it. So I just think we so have caught on our preconceived ideas anyway. So they could have won with like we open up with great intentions, great passion, great fire, a burning heart desire. They could have actually, cause I try not to speak out of turn. Like I don't know if they didn't, this is not, to put a slap on what you said. Your point is, did they do? You're not saying they did not do. They did not meet with their community or their leadership. The question is, did they meet with their question? And that's the kind of question
Are y'all catching this? Are y'all catching this? Did y'all hear what he said? I did not say they didn't do something. I'm just saying, did they do it? My thought, I would like to believe that we handled this at the community level, that we had these discussions at the lowest level in the church. Those are my thoughts. I would like to believe, because if that is happening, because I just believe like this, if you're because I've said it before, and I'm on the record for saying, by all account, and I'm going to stand on this, by all account, real talk, and I just use Jesus as my guide, and listening audience, don't get offended, but I'm just saying to y'all, you show me in one account where Jesus took up any political cause. You show me on one account where Jesus took, just because he called things out doesn't mean that he crossed over into a political realm and he stood there and dealt with things. Jesus' whole purpose was to fulfill the purpose of his life, which is what God sent him for. Now, all I'm saying is, if we're going to follow that model, I'm not saying that you can't speak on certain, you can't dwell in certain areas. But what I am saying is, you don't have to. A pastor, any clergy member, look, salvation, soul salvation, preaching the word of God, baptisms, communion, godly stuff, kingdom stuff, okay? Really, by all account, that's all you got to do. By all account, that's what you have to do if you're called of God. Everything else is not a must-have. You can be led and motivated. It's not a must-have. And I think a lot of times, and I stand on this, I think what happens is as a people, and I hear this a lot of times, I hear people say, well, a lot of reasons why things are happening in the African American community is because our churches, and I believe we use the church because we know the church is truly the cornerstone. We understand that, the church is the longest running institution that we have in the African American community. So we use that as saying, if the church took the lead on this subject, on this issue, it wouldn't be a problem. And I've always been the one to say, you know what? When you really look at it and you really scroll through your Bible, that isn't the teaching. That soul salvation trumps, pun intended, all worldly issues. Kingdom issues every day will trump any man-made worldly issue. Real talk.
Man, I mean, you're right about it. The teaching of Jesus is right between wrong. What's right and what's wrong. He taught what was right and what was wrong. He was taught it of his Father. The thing about it is, we tend to, like I said, because of our biases and our prejudices and our it's funny because and it's sad too, because I tend to know people who I believe are spiritually minded,
Mm-hmm.
but are prejudiced and not know they prejudiced. And they're supposed to be, spiritually minded folk. But when you can say, when you open up with says like, white this or without even having any empathy in the conversation whatsoever, or and I'm thinking to myself, I remember when Jesus healed the lady with the issue. Jesus didn't recognize if she was a male, a female, black, white. He didn't even know. He had to ask, who touched me? He had to ask, who touched me? He said, all I know is virtue came out of me, and I know somebody touched me. I don't know if they were white, black, young, male, old, Jew, Gentile. I don't know. But all I know is somebody touched me. And that's how we should look at this thing, is how do we touch people with blinded eyes? How do we help people with our eyes closed? How do we help people from a heart perspective and not from because that person is black or this person is white and that person is short and this person is rich or this person is... See, if we go with that mandate, then a lot of this stuff can be uprooted. But I understand it's here now, and we have to be able to cut the cord and be able to pull down some of these strongholds that already exist in the world. And the only way we can do that is we have meetings, discussions, SPEAKROC, the church, even in the political scene, because all the political scene is not bad. Because Scripture always says, when it's going well for you, it's all authorities are ordained by God. The scripture don't work when your president does.
I'm sorry for laughing, Eric, but you are so spot on. When things are going well, when the economy is good, when the housing market is booming, when your stocks are doing good, look, we ain't got no problem. And God has blessed America. but as soon as your 401k start taking a nosedive, the devil is at work. Really?
It's interesting, and I don't know, and you might have been, because this is something like I would believe that you would say, but if you didn't say it, I heard this just recently, and we were talking about, the mantra or the motto or the theme of President Trump's campaign is we want to make America great again.
Right.
I don't know if it was you or somebody else they wanted me to know is, when was America ever great? I couldn't figure out the answer to that question because of our history as it relates to African American people in America. So are you making it great again to the point that you're going to uproot some stuff that shouldn't have happened? Are you going to make it great again from a point of a perspective of all people are created equal? All we can live life in the pursuit of happiness? Are you going to make it great from that vantage point? what is your interpretation of making America great again? Is it America great for all or just some? And this is the kind of questions we need to put out there on the floor. Not a cliche, not just a theme, not just an overall mantra, but we want to know what making America great again literally means, because we don't want to go back to where it started out from us, because at that point it wasn't great for us. What are your thoughts on that? And did you tell me that? I don't know.
It sounds like something I could have said to you. I mean,
that's why I opened it up with it.
I mean, here's the deal, E. I'm gonna be honest with you, because here on Speak Rock, especially when I do the segment with you, you never really see me get highly involved in things that are just so debatable.
Right.
Because I just leave it to opinion, in perspective. Everybody got their own perspective of America. African Americans, Jewish Americans, Caucasian Americans that came from England, what we call the Native American, the Indian that lived here, Asian American. Everybody got their own perspective. Somebody coming off of a boat right now that just landed in America, that you got their green card. Come on, man. They got a different perspective of America. You see what I mean? So in their mind, hey, make America great again. This is great. People who was raised on Leave It to Beaver, far as they concerned, this is great. Let's make America great again back to that time. So it's subjective. So that's something that just can't be argued. And once again, everybody got to understand, what's the difference between, and I'm probably about to totally tick everybody off with this one, but there's no difference between, in a political sense, let me say that again, in the political sense, there's nothing different between saying, make America great again and keep hope alive. There's no difference between saying make America great again and what President Obama said. What he say? Yes, we can.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no difference. They're political catchwords to attract your base. I'm not getting caught up in that. Okay, be intelligent. This is all what I'm saying. Black folk and everybody. Let's be intelligent. Understand that's what it is. Those are phrases. Those are mottos to attract a base. If it don't pertain to you, it don't pertain to you. Don't get all wrapped up about it. But if I know a truth about it, some people can never attract. Like, how can I say this? Look here. I put it like this. There's no way I can sit and say, if I just took in a vacuum and I took a portion of my life as I lived in America, I can sit there and say, you know what, that was a great time. Do you understand what I'm saying? But I don't believe President Trump was talking about that time that I'm talking about. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Does that make sense? Because
it makes a whole lot of sense.
He's speaking from his perspective. But the time that I'm talking about, as I lived in America, that I feel that was great, he doesn't have an idea about. So I don't get caught up into that. But my thing is, I look more so at what it is that you're doing. And I'm going to end it with this. And I'm going to say this. And I don't mean no malice in this. This is just my God's honest opinion and just how I feel. These are my opinions. In my opinion, there's no difference between George Washington and Donald Trump. There's no difference. No difference whatsoever. Now, and we seem like we might be taking another turn, and let me explain myself before I make such a bold statement. Bottom line is, George Washington is considered to be a founding father, and the Joker still had slaves. You founded a country with slaves. I'm sorry. I don't know what part of great America that was. It was wrong. I'm not going... Just because he fought England and got away, he was considered a enemy of a country at one point. and he liberated people, killed other people, and founded a country with slaves. Everything that Donald Trump is doing, you know how many presidents that we've had since Donald Trump? You know how many presidents that we had until the Emancipation Proclamation came around? You know how many presidents we had during the time of Reconstruction, during the time of Jim Crow, during the time of civil rights? But now all of a sudden, Donald Trump got to be the worst president in the world? I mean, revisionist history is something else. I am not going to sit. If Donald Trump could own slaves, he probably would. He probably would. That's my opinion. So all I'm saying is, I'm not going to, if I was to put my mouth on that man, that means I got to put my mouth on every other president that did some of the most heinous acts or allowed them to happen up under their watch. I refuse to have revisionist history. I refuse to do it. So all I'm saying is, I agree with you going back. We got to start somewhere. We do have to have conversations, but as ministers of the gospel, we got to stand flat-footed and let our yea be yea and our nay be nay. Until some minister, or as you said earlier, people who got Twitter thumbs and who got internet fingers, doing a lot of criticizing but not doing nothing, until you get to a position where you're going to get beheaded because of your comments, you're not doing nothing. I'm sorry, I said it. Until you get to a point where you got to escape by hiding in some dirty laundry, you're not doing nothing. Until you get to the point where somebody got to say, look, you know what? You're going to be crucified on this cross. In my opinion, you ain't doing as much as you think you're doing. Because those men of the Bible, you want to talk about taking a stance? That's called taking a stance. And don't hit me with this, you know what I'm saying, you got to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. Don't hit me with that. Let's not go there. Is your yay, yay, or your nay, nay? Because I'm sure your yay and yay and your nay is nay when you calling out a demon. When you laying hands on your sick child. Okay? When you laying hands on yourself to get over an illness. When you trying to have a grain of a mustard seed. So let's not be selective in where we want to apply our faith and our spiritual boldness. I'm going to let you have the last word, E. We got to wrap it up.
Hey, man, I don't know how I come behind that.
Man, cut it off.
I don't really know how I can come behind it, because that's so, that's so spot on, man. I mean, you know, because we can talk, we can talk a lot of game, man. We can be these Monday morning quarterbacks. We can be these, you know, these aficionados and all of this when we ain't doing anything. Well, I mean, we're just judging what somebody did or somebody did not do. And then who put you judge and jury over that situation? Who made you the one who can say, well, this person did it right or this person did it wrong, when you just sitting home and just evaluating and not affecting anything in a positive way? All your energy is focusing on in a negative way. And I applaud you that you have been exposed to an issue, but I would give you a standing ovation if you allow your exposure to provoke you to action, provoke you to do something, provoke you to move, provoke you to take a stand, to start a movement, to start something like SPEAKROC, to start getting some signatures, to start getting some buses together so we can go and have effective dialogue, and do something instead of always complaining about something, because anybody can complain about something. Then the thing about it, like you said, whatever you're saying, if it ain't gonna cost you anything, then, you know, I'm not sure. Then, you know, why you even bringing it up? It's not gonna cost you anything, because the truth of the matter, because you're not standing really for anything. You just a mouthpiece for opposition instead of a mouthpiece for progression. And we got too many of them now. We have them everywhere. I mean, they're a dime a dozen. Matter of fact, there's some of them listening in right now.
Hey, but you know what?
And won't call and won't email, won't tweet this message, knowing that some of the and I ain't saying all the message is fire, but when the message is fire, why don't you put some fire to that fire? And we know that fire spreads, and then this message can get out to the people whom it's supposed to get out to. But instead of you just listening and try to critique the one thing that you didn't like,